Hi, everyone. So I am Siris Rivas from Empowering Light Language, and I have Karla Johnston-Krase with me. And we're just going to continue these series of conversations that are just lighting up my life, just really awesome things and for my business and my body. Every time I think about talking about Karla, I'm like, yay! So,
it's mutual.
Yay!
It's fun.
One of the things that we had talked about, maybe we had considered discussing, is success and what that can look like in your families and in parenting and with kids. There's so many different interesting points of views about success. And so just to start off, like, what are you defining as success? Like, what's your definition of success? And is that actually true, what you're defining as success? And are you using any of those definitions to judge you and limit you and put this like weight on yourself and your world? Because that's anywhere that I've defined myself in any way, including what's successful, it's usually so far for me to judge myself in some way. Like, I use that measure or that metric to judge myself. And that's been from like, oh, I didn't get enough kids to make 80% or more progress on their speech goals. Or, when I was in the Chicago public schools, or man, I'm only seeing 20 kids right now. And I used to see 90, and not really looking at the quality of the services and the dynamism of the way that I provide services now compared to before. And so like, how has that shown up with you? Has definitions at all as success as a parent, as a mother, as a wife, as a business owner, like played a role in your life?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh, and as you're asking that too, I was thinking, the interesting thing for me is that those definitions were moving targets all the time because they were somebody else's definition of what success was, right? So maybe I would think I was moving close to success, but then there's somebody else out there doing something different or better, or saying how one should parent. And this became very much more part of my world when I became an adoptive parent, because we went through an international adoption, and there were wonderful trainings that were science-based and really prepared us for so much. But all the books that I read and all the seminars and all the people I talked to, everybody was an expert and had something to say about what success was in adoptive parenting, or in coming home, or in attachment, or all these other things. And I realized that when I look back now, I'm like, dang, I was doing pretty darn good on my own. But then I always made myself wrong and always made myself not enough. And
because it didn't match what you had been told by them.
It didn't match something else or someone else that I thought was doing it better. And was that even true? Like, there is no truth in that. And what that serves nothing and no one. Like, and the projections and expectations it puts on my kids are even heavier than the ones that I sense myself in that. So that's probably the biggest area for me. Like there were a lot of definitions. None of them were mine. And they were always a moving target because they also had like comparison in there, and somebody else being the expert of my life and my parenting.
And there's nothing wrong with moving targets. It's actually really great to have things continually to flow and follow the energy in your awareness as a parent, as an educator and therapist. Gosh, as so whatever roles and different roles that you're playing around with and have in your life, it's when those moving targets, when you actually are using that energy against yourself.
It's a judgment. It's measurement.
Do you know what I mean? And that's when it's like, I wonder if we didn't use so much energy against ourselves. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Like, how much more fun we could have with these wonderful children that are inviting us to so much more fun and possibility. And also that have all their own stuffs going on. Like, if we're trying to empower these kids, and that's definitely one of my targets, and it's a moving target because it's like kids, which are all the different kids, each kid is needing something different. If we're actually going to empower these kids to be successful in whatever way it shows up for them, it is going to be beyond definition, because we're not going to apply the same definition of success to each kid.
Yeah.
You know, my mom is phenomenal at this. She right away, you know, I was considered a gifted child, and then my sister was born with spina bifida, and then my brother was born with a diaphragmatic hernia and is hard of hearing, profound to severe hearing loss in both ears. And all of us, in my point of view, are gifted, and all of us have special capacities. And my mom recognized that really, really early on, and knew to not project this and have the same expectations for each of us, and not think that, oh, well, all of them are going to do this, and all of them are going to create this and have this kind of life or anything like that. Now, she pushed all of us and invited all of us to have as great of a life as possible in whatever way it looked like for us. And so it wasn't like, oh, you're going to have this kind of a job, or you're going to date these kind of a people, and you're going to you're going to live in this certain place. It wasn't that, but she also didn't cap it like a lot of people did for my siblings, especially. Like, they had all these projections, expectations about this amazing, great life that I was going to have, that some of which has actualized and shown up, and some of which has not, because it's not actually what I want and what I desire. But a lot of people, because of my sister having a physical disability and my brother having a sensory one, they were like, oh, they're going to stay at home with your mom their whole life, right? And they're going to be relying on her, and they're not going to have their own apartments, and they're not going to, you know, live out of state or any of that. And all of that has shown up and more with both of them, because my mom was inviting them and asking, like, hey, what would you actually like? Instead of assuming, of course, this is what your life is going to be like all the doctors and teachers and the so-called experts were saying about them. And so if we didn't listen to the experts, and we actually acknowledge that with the kids that we love, we're the experts for them, and we're the experts of our own lives, I wonder how much greater their lives would be.
Yes. I mean, like, if we were willing to, I always feel, I think I said this in our first chat, like, our kids will usually do what we do rather than what we say.
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, like, the more they learn, they use these tools, like, they get that they have choice. And like, if they're seeing adults, like, so not just parents, but the adult figures in their lives, like everyone who's caring and being with them, actually having a different definition of success, mm-hmm. or just being like not, and being their own expert, then they will grow up doing that and being that. And
mm-hmm.
part
and
of what
they're the expert of their lives, instead of looking to everyone else to tell them how they should live their lives, which is what I did for so much of my life. I was seeking out, like, the stories in the books that I was reading, and in the research for, like, you know, evidence-based practice as a therapist, like, okay, what I should do. And it's good to have that information and also be in the question about it. Like, all the trainings you did, it's good information. It's valuable. And also be like, what part of this is actually relevant and true to me?
Right.
Instead of assuming all of it is.
Yeah, well, I know, because then we start doing all these things that everybody else tells us are the right things to do, mm-hmm. and no matter what aspect of our life, our body, our relationships. And then when it's not working, we decide that we're not doing it enough. We're not doing it right, or something else. And it's really, well, what if part of that isn't, part or all of it isn't true for you? Like, what is true for you? And we do get these, you know, expert opinions and definitions of success from everywhere, from books, from doctors, from teachers. You know, one of the calls we were talking about my kids and end of year testing, you know, like, somebody's trying to define children by the tests that they take.
Yeah.
Whether that's successful or not. Or, you know, conversations I've had about kids too, and parenting and families who like to support children or grandchildren, but have a definition of what their success will be for their grandchildren. So if you set up a college fund, and I'm like, what if one of my kids doesn't want to go to college? Like, what if their gift is wanting to come out in another way in this world? I totally value education. I'm so grateful for the education I've had, and I will support them. But all these ways, like all of these ways that we try to define what success is, and each one of my kids is so different. So of course, success for them is going to look completely different.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what that is, honestly. And I often will say, like, as a parent, the things that challenge me the most about my kids and how they show up in the world are most likely going to be the greatest gift that they have. And I can't wait to see what that looks like, because some days it really drives me bonkers. But I do get that is part of their gift to the world and their success in this world. And you know, with, like, you and I have talked before too about the labels that are put on kids, and in the adoption foster community, there's a lot of labels, because people make the assumption that kids who have an early life traumatic experience or many different things will be, I think that they're almost looking for what's wrong. Yeah. What's wrong, and what's holding them back, and that they're already at a deficit. And are they at a deficit? Like, if we project that, yes, but like, what if we just acknowledge the beautiful success that they already are and are creating, and just allow that to flourish? I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes so much sense that I think that that's actually where I'd love to end today, is actually inviting everyone that's watching this video to ask yourself, so where are the children that you care for, that are in your families, that you work with, that you play with, where have they actually been successful that you haven't acknowledged? And where have you been successful with them that you haven't acknowledged? And I'm just curious to see what awareness you get, what shows up for you when you look at it from that angle instead of from everything else we talked about, which I don't need to bring up again. You could just always watch the video again. Yeah. So let us know. Hopefully you're enjoying this video series. Let us know what shows up for you when you watch it. And also, if you have any other ideas for topics that we should do videos on, we can talk constantly. We have all these ideas, but we really like to tailor these to what would be a contribution to your lives, to the children that you love and play with, and to your family. So let us know, and we look forward to hearing back from you. Yeah. So much.
Thanks, Siris.
Thank you, Karla.